So today I learned there was a thing called the Nestle boycott, and the whole reason behind it is kind of silly, but apparently over a 55-year period, there was around 10 million infant deaths. I know, crazy, right? But these are all allegations. Nobody ever got in trouble, nobody went to jail or anything like that. It was just 10 million infants. But the way they did it is extremely interesting because it involves some hardcore marketing strategies that was unheard of beforehand. And what they would do is they would get these people, they would dress them up as wet nurses, whether they were qualified or not. They didn't give a shit. They would send them to these low income, middle income countries, go around knocking door to door explaining how great formula was, but they didn't even have to purchase it. They would just give you free samples of it. How awesome is that? Now, that doesn't sound too awful bad, except for they were using some pretty deep psychological tricks on these people that actually caused them to not produce as much milk. See, if you become overly stressed about a situation, it can make your body not produce as much milk as it needs to. And they would kind of use these little tactics like, oh, well, maybe you wouldn't supply enough. And these people would worry about it, and literally their body would just not supply enough. But that didn't work for everybody. So what they would do that would almost guarantee that they would have everybody on formula is they would give them out free samples. Now that sounds all peachy, except for they would give them just enough that these people's body quit lactating. They just no longer produce milk. And whenever that happened, they were forced to buy formula from that point on, or their baby was just going to starve to death. How crazy is that? And it worked. And it worked so well because something they didn't explain to these people living in freaking poverty was it's extremely freaking expensive. Not only that, but you have to mix it with clean water. And this is where the big numbers really start coming into play because these people just did not have enough money to buy formulas, so they would dilute it, and they would dilute it so far that the babies just weren't getting any nutrition. They couldn't absorb anything. But not only that, they were diluting it with very dirty water, and this caused the babies to have even more problems like diarrhea, where the majority of them started dying off. So isn't that just lovely to think about 10 million babies starved to death where they got their little old man heads and their tiny little shriveled up bodies because they have no nutrition in them? And you know what? Almost nothing happened. I mean, they did change the rules, so they had to have a little bit better marketing strategy, and they couldn't lie to people as bad, nor were they allowed to give out free samples, except for sometimes they still did. Like sometimes they go to hospitals and they give out these free samples to the doctors because the company can't actually give them to the people. However, doctors can. And if you get people started early enough, they just don't lactate anymore. So that's absolutely amazing because you are forced to buy their product from that point on, except for whenever there's like a shortage and then all of a sudden people can't feed their kids. But you know what? That's another problem we could talk about another day. So anyways, while I heard about this some time ago, it was brought up again to me today, and I was like, you know what? I should make a video about this because it pisses me off every time. But you know, nobody really boycotts them anymore, so I'm gonna start doing it myself. However, have you looked at the product list? How many different things they got their freaking fingers in? Because they do. They be dipping their little toes and fingers in everything. I thought it was, well, it's not cool, but I thought it was interesting, so I figured I'd tell you all about it. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. If you'd like to follow me to hear more interesting things, you're more welcome to do that, or like it and share it or whatever. Okay, have a great day. Bye.